G'day everybody. What we're going to do today is have a look at inverse functions. Hoping through the course of this video these are some questions you'll be able to answer. Firstly, what are inverse functions? What do inverse functions actually do? When we look at the graphs of functions and their inverses, what sorts of things do we notice? If I'm given a function, how can I find its inverse? We're going to look at that in two ways. If I'm doing this on pen and paper, how do I find an inverse function by hand? How do I find the inverse function with a CAS calculator? To begin our lesson today, I'm just going to give you a brief activity to do on your own first. I'd like you to copy these two tables of values onto a piece of paper into your book. The first table of values is for the function 2 to the power of x, using the values of x from -3 through to +3. Show all the y values for those values of x. What I'd like you to do after that is take that table and simply switch around the columns. So all of these x values, I'd like you to put those in a second table under the y column, and vice versa. All of the y values in the first table, place them as the x values in the second table. When you've got your two tables, you can open Desmos or some similar technology, and I'd like you to plot those graphs and have a think about the question, what do you notice? So now's a good time to pause the video. Let's have a look. These are our two tables. 2 to the power of x, we've got some negative powers. We've got 2 to the power of 0 is equal to 1. 2 to the power of -3, 1/8. When we swap all of those values around, when we switch the columns, this is what our second table looks like. And plotting those with a graph, we're looking at two graphs that look like this. So the table on the left, this is the curve up the top. So there's our x equals -3, y equals 1/8, for example. The final value in the table was x equals 3, y equals 8. When we switch those values over and look at the second table, for example, 3/8 becomes 8/3. This graph that we've got on the bottom is what we're now looking at. And what we should have observed is that both graphs are reflections of each other in this diagonal line y equals x. When we're looking at this type of relationship, that's exactly what we're talking about, inverse functions. Of course, the first function we looked at was 2 to the power of x, and you might have recognized the shape of the second graph. We've ended up with the log of x to the base 2. So what we would say is that both of those functions, 2 to the power of x or log of x to the base 2, are inverses of each other. So let's have a talk about what inverse functions actually are. Inverse functions represent pairs of functions whose coordinates are reversed. That's a very simple way of thinking about inverse functions. We're going to look at that in a little bit more depth. We use a special type of notation for the inverse function. Let's say that we call our first function f of x. Its inverse is represented using a little -1. So we say f -1 of x. It's nothing to do with a power. It simply denotes that this is the inverse of a function that's called f. Inverse functions have particular properties. As we've already seen with our first example, they reflect each other in the line y equals x. This also means that if functions overlap, so if a function overlaps its inverse function and they intersect, those intersections are going to occur on the line y equals x. It's really a useful property to remember when we're solving problems to do with inverse functions. Another feature of functions and their inverses, and this gets back to the idea that when we switch those columns, the domain of the function becomes the range of the inverse function, and vice versa, the range of the function becomes the domain of the inverse function. This is another way of thinking about what inverse functions actually do. This is like an origami example. Let's say we've got some function, it's a machine. When we feed a square piece of paper into this machine, whatever happens in the machine turns it into this crane. Nice piece of origami. Now, if an inverse function exists, what that inverse function should actually be able to do is, if I feed the crane into my inverse function, whatever happens in there is going to return that to the original square piece of paper. So that's one way of thinking about inverse functions and what they actually do. Here's an example. Let's use our first example. So our function is 2 to the power of x. We're going to put in -3. So 2 to the power of -3 is 1/8. What that means is, if I take the value 1/8 and I use that as the input for the inverse function, the log of 1/8 turns out to be -3. So you can see that a function and its inverse perform those types of operations on values of x, values of y. The way we go about finding inverse functions, we're going to look at this, as I said, by hand first, and then we'll think about how the calculator can help us find inverse functions. We're going to use a different example here, but essentially this is the same process for any function that we begin with. Whether it's an exponential, logarithmic, but it could be any function that has a function that, any function for which its inverse exists, and that's going to be the subject of another video. So let's say f of x is equal to 4 to the power of x minus 1. We already know that the inverse function is about swapping the x and y values, so I'm writing that function as an equation that shows the relationship between x and y. The y coordinates, we get them from having 4 to the power of x minus 1. If that's true, what we should be able to see in the inverse function and its equation is the reverse relationship, where the values of x are 4 to the power of y minus 1. So all I've essentially done there is take this equation and switch x and y in that same equation. Then I can go about making y the subject of that equation. In this case, I'm going to have to use a logarithm. So I've got 4 to the power of y is equal to x plus 1. Solving for y, that means y is the log of x plus 1 in brackets. And it's that equation that tells us that the inverse function is the log of x plus 1. Notice that I didn't just leave the equation in terms of x and y. I've used the correct notation to denote the fact that this is the inverse function of f. This is particularly important for VCE students. Looking at those two graphs now, let's see what we've got. Our original function was 4 to the power of x minus 1. Note, because of the shape of the graph, because of the asymptote, its domain is all real numbers. The range of that is all the values above -1. When we look at the domain and range of the inverse function, because of the vertical asymptote and the shape of the graph, its domain is now all the values above -1. It will be in a minute. And the range is all of the real numbers. So if you notice, we can see even from the graphs that the domain and the range for the function and its inverse have been swapped. They're exactly the same, but in a different order. If I was to superimpose these two graphs on one another, we can see here that they still have that reflection about that diagonal line y equals x. We're going to take a closer look at that graph, because the two graphs in this case do in fact intersect, and we can find out where those intersections take place. So one of those intersections is at the point 0, 0. The second intersection is at the point -1/2, -1/2. Even the asymptote intersects on that diagonal line, -1, -1. Now's another good time to pause the video after you start this example. I just want you to practice doing this by yourself. So let's say that f of x is e to the power of x plus 1 minus 2. I'm going to kick it off for you. So remember that we're going to swap x and y in that equation, and then we're going to set about solving the equation for y. So pause the video, give yourself a few minutes to try that yourself by hand. And here's the solution. You'll see that I've added 2 to both sides. Y is in the exponent. I'm going to use a logarithm to solve for y. So I've got the log of x plus 2, subtracting 1 from both sides. I've now got an equation in terms of y. So I now have the equation for my inverse function. So f -1 of x is the logarithm of x plus 2 minus 1. We can expect that if we have an exponential function, its inverse is going to be a logarithm, and vice versa. If I started with a logarithm, I would end up with an exponential function as the inverse. This shows you how you might perform the same operation on a CAS calculator. So you see here on the Texas CAS calculator, I've defined the function e to the power of x plus 1 minus 2. This operation here, or this command here, you'll see that I've swapped x and y, so I've said x is equal to the function of y, and I'm solving the equation for y. And then we get not only the equation for the inverse, but in this case the CAS calculator has also given us the domain, which is all the numbers greater than -2. So a quick review of what we've covered in this video. We now know what inverse functions are. We understand that they are their coordinates are reversed. We sort of know what they do. They sort of undo what a function does in the first place. They're like an undoing operation. In the way that division undoes multiplication, an inverse function undoes its function. We've learned to understand that the graphs of functions and their inverses have particular properties. We've looked at how we solve an inverse function by hand, and very quickly we've seen that we can also perform the same operation with a calculator. Thanks very much.